weekend, 4 races fitted into the 2-day weekend. The first of those races, a sprint race, 10 laps. Number 5, Pekka Pivarinta and Peter Wall there. And also on the grid was number 11, Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs, making a welcome return to the championship. Tom Hanks, nice to see you back on the grid. It's been quite a while. How are you feeling?
Yeah, a bit nervous about this race, but not stressed about it or anything, because we're not really running this championship. So I just want to get as much track time as I can, and hopefully by the end of this weekend I'll be somewhere near the pace I should be, like I was here last year.
Well, Tim and Tristan Reeves there on pole position, but they had a 10-second penalty. There was some controversial goings on with the FIM and the success ballast. Tim only running 20 kilos of success ballast and not the 30 kilos, so a 10-second penalty added to that as well. Well, 10 laps of sprint race got underway, and it was Pekka Pivarinta and Peter Wall that got the whole shot from the line, as everybody funneled into this tight first corner. York Steinhaus and Trevor Hopkinson, they got away well, and so did Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs. They were up to 3rd position. Remember, this pair haven't raced since the end of last season, so it was a bit of an experience for them to get straight into the racing action. But obviously Hanks and Biggs, one of the main contenders for the World Championship over the past few seasons, so no lack of experience there, just a lack of track time. And that looked like Martin and Tony Van Gils were on the grass there, lucky to get away with that one. As the pack streamed through on this opening lap, Van Gils there dropped down the order. Jean and Gregory Clues, the French father and son team, bringing up the rear. Just ahead of them, Fabio Dagnino and standing passenger Michael Hildebrand. They were enjoying their first World Championship event. Well, Tim and Tristan Reeves quickly making up ground from a bit of a poor start there. They were up to 3rd position. Well, Van Gils sitting up there, so that little trip on the grass didn't do them any favours. Jörg Steinhaus and Trevor Hopkinson, they were challenging Pekka Pivarinta and Peter Wall at the front of the grid. Pivarinta and Wall really have come on in the second half of this season. So as they came round to complete another lap, it was Pivarinta in the lead, but Steinhausen and Hopkinson, a drive-through penalty for the German-English pairing on that Q8 Steinhausen racing machine. Well, that would have been for a jump start, drive-through penalty for a jump start for Steinhausen. So, will that play into Tim and Tristan Reeves' hand? They were up to 3rd position, but they've got a penalty as well. So, what went on at the start? We didn't really see anything. Well, Tom Hanks, Phil Biggs in 4th place, Billy Gowross and Johnny Briggs in 5th position ahead of Gary and Dan Knight. But Pekka Pivarinta, Peter Wall doing a great job of heading the field at the moment. Tom Hanks, Phil Biggs there in 4th. There's Gary and Dan Knight in 6th position, just ahead of Andy Lalo and Patrick Farrance. Pekka Koismanen, passenger for Taro Mannanen behind them. So a good scrap there for the midfield positions. Well, let's see if we can see the replay of the start. What happens here? Well, Tim and Tristan Reeves moved early, then Steinhausen went. Both of them stopped, so, well, a little bit harsh on the drive-through penalties because nobody gained any advantage from that. Just a little bit keen to get away. But back at the front, still Pivarinta. Tim and Tristan Reeves have moved into 2nd place, demoting Steinhausen through to 3rd. So now they've both got drive-through penalties. And remember, Tim Reeves is also carrying a 10-second penalty added to his time at the end of this race. So, well, Reeves is really going to have to put the hammer down and try and get some distance on his rivals if he's going to stand any chance of winning this race. But still, Pivarinta and Wall holding off the 2 championship leaders. What a great job by the Finnish driver and his Swedish passenger. Oh, Tim Reeves just diving through the inside into that right-hander to take the lead briefly, but then he was into the pit lane for his drive-through penalty. He's got to come through pit lane at 60 kilometres an hour, and now Jörg Steinhaus and Trevor Hopkinson have taken the lead, but of course they've got to come into the pits as well. Well, there's Tim and Tristan Reeves coming through pit lane, and then at the end of the pit lane now they can accelerate. He's got to be careful, this is slippery, this pit lane. Very tight exit, but no, straight back on the power, and well, that's Reeves down in about 10th position. Jörg Steinhausen trying to stretch the lead at the front, but well, he's dived into pit lane. He's got to slow that thing down to 60 kilometres an hour before he gets to the white line, otherwise he'll be back in for another penalty. Well, as he threads his way through the pit lane behind that pit wall there, Tim and Tristram Reeves rejoined the race in 10th position. Where is Steinhausen and Hopkinson going to come back out? Once again, they've got to be careful on this pit lane exit. Well, it didn't seem to take much care there, just flat out and back into the race. So, Pekka Pivarinta and Peter Wall back into the lead of this race. And they have nobody in sight behind them. Where is Jörg Steinhausen and Trevor Hopkinson? That's going to be the question. Pivarinta and Wall not got a lot of sponsorship on this Finnish machine, but they've been had their first podium last year in the European Series. There's Tim and Tristram Reeves, and they're mired down in the middle of the field. They need to be making some fast progress through these midfield runners and just pushing their way past Sepp Doppler and Bernhard Wagner there. But meanwhile, Pivarinta and Wall continue to extend their lead at the front, and they're now untroubled at the head of this race as they go into the final lap. Is it going to be the first victory for the Finnish driver? Coming through halfway around the lap, well, there's nobody in sight. Well, Billy Gauros and Johnny Briggs holding second place, but that's Steinhausen and Trevor Hopkinson. Gauros had a bit of a bobble through that chicane. It's given, oh, they touched there. Steinhausen forcing his way through into second place. So that's a good ride back from that drive-through penalty from Steinhausen. I think he got through the pit lane quicker and back into the race better than Tim and Tristram Reeves. But Pekka Pivarinta and Peter Wall take their first ever World Championship victory. And that's a good result for them. Steinhausen and Hopkinson got second place, Gauros and Briggs third and on the podium. Tim and Tristram Reeves with that 10-second penalty down in 8th position. Well, there's our top three. On the right, Billy Gauros and Johnny Briggs. On the left, Jörg Steinhausen and Trevor Hopkinson. And on the top step for the very first time, Pekka Pivarinta on the right-hand side there and Peter Wall. Well, that makes the standings. Jörg Steinhausen and Trevor Hopkinson closing that gap on Tim and Tristram Reeves at the top of the table, with Pivarinta and Wall moving up to 5th position following that win. So after the excitement of the opening sprint race, it was on to the match races, and after qualifying, the teams are split into 4 heats, with the slowest in the first heat and then the top 4 in the final heat. The winners of the heats will then go forward to the semi-finals and be joined by the next fastest riders. So the heats got underway, heat 1, and it was Andy Laidlaw and Patrick Farrance that found themselves down in this lower group of riders. They had a bad qualifying, but at the start it was Thomas Fuchs and Jiri Perchalek that led them round. There was Fabio Dagnino and Michael Hildebrand bringing up the rear of the heat, but Laidlaw and Farrance really a class above the riders in this heat, so they should be at the front. But Thomas Fuchs and Jiri Perchalek, the Czech riders, not giving them an easy time. But in the end it was Laidlaw and Farrance that came through to win the opening heat. Then it was on to heat 2. Only 3 riders in this heat 2. Dan Morrissey and Rob Biggs couldn't start the race. They had electrical problems. That was bad luck for them. But it was Martin and Tony Van Gils that took the lead into the first corner of this second heat. Sepp Doppler and Bernhard Wagner behind them. But the father and son team of Van Gils were out at the first corner. Their engine stopped, and that left Sepp Doppler and Bernhard Wagner to take the win and book their place in the first of the semi-finals alongside Andy Laidlaw and Patrick Farrance. Heat 3, getting faster now. Tero Manninen, Tom Hanks, Steve Norbury and Gary Knight all in this heat. This was going to be a close one. It was Gary and Dan Knight that took the lead on the opening lap, but Steve Norbury and Mark Cox pushing them very hard. Tom Hanks, remember, not raced since last year. He's had the 1 sprint race this weekend, so still finding his way back around a sidecar. Mannanen trying to make an overtaking manoeuvre for second there on Steve Norbury and made it at the end of the back straight. But all the while, it was Gary and Dan Knight just eking away a bit of a lead at the front as Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs trying to find their way through. So remember, the winner of the heat would automatically go through to the semi-final, and then the rest would have to wait and see if their finishing time qualified them to go any further. Heat 4, the top 4 in qualifying: Tim and Tristan Reeves, York Steinhausen, Pekka Pivarinta and Billy Galros and Johnny Briggs. And it was Steinhausen that got a real jump away at the start, but didn't jump at the start this time as he did in the sprint race. Billy Galros, Johnny Briggs struggling a little bit there at the back, but at the front it was Steinhausen in the lead until Tim and Tristan Reeves found a way past. Steiny left the door open a little bit there, and so it was Tim and Tristan Reeves that took the win. Pekka Pivarinta pipped Steinhausen at the flag, but that was a quick heat, so I'd expect those 4 to go through to the next stage. Well, the results from the heats: Laidlow, Foucault, Clues and Dagnino. Laidlow going through to the semi-final. Sepp Doppler booking his place by winning Heat 2. Gary and Dan Knight win Heat 3 and go through, as does Tim and Tristan Reeves from Heat 4. The next fastest were Norbury, Hanks, Foucault and John Clues. Pivarinta, Steinhausen, Galros and Mannanen in the second semi-final. So the first of the semi-finals. Once again, the winner of this race books a place into the main final. The rest have to see if their race time is quick enough to qualify them for that final. And at the start, it was a determined Steve Norbury and Mark Cox that squeezed their way to the front of the pack. Andy Laidlow and Patrick Farrance chasing them hard. Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs also beginning to up their pace, but great ride at the moment from Steve Norbury and Mark Cox. Cox, of course, replacing Scott Parnell, who was injured in the opening round. But then it was Andy Laidlow that took over the lead. Hanks trying to squeeze past, got it a bit wrong then, lucky to stay on the circuit. But a great scrap at the front. These 3 really putting on some good entertainment. And it was Andy Laidlow and Patrick Farrance, but Steve Norbury fighting back and squeezing past the silver machine of Laidlow. Of course, the second semi-final was likely to be one of the quicker ones, so you really had to win this race to be absolutely certain of getting into that final top 6 for the match races, and that's where the points come. So it was Steve Norbury and Mark Cox just clipping the cones on the inside of that circuit there. Norbury and Cox flat out down this straight for the last time. Could they hold on? Well, into the braking area. Laidlow trying to go around the outside. He'd be a brave man to try and do it there. Steve Norbury and Mark Cox just holding on to the line. Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs trying to get a run up the inside of Laidlow, but it wasn't going to be. And as they came down to the flag, it was going to be a photo finish, but it was Steve Norbury and Mark Cox that took the win. They're through to the final of the match races. Second semi-final. And at the start, it was Tim and Tristan Reeves that got the jump on Pekka Pivarinta and Peter Wall into turn 1. And then York Steinhausen forced his way through. Billy Galros having a good ride there with Gary and Dan Knight just ahead of them. But it was Reeves and Steinhausen that left the field behind them as they battled to ensure their place in that final. Remember, the top 6 come from the 2 semi-final winners and the next fastest 4 on time from both of those heats. But Steinhausen ran off the track, just saw some dust. He was off the circuit and dropped down the order there. Managed to fight his way back up to second position as they came round the final turn. But it was Tim and Tristan Reeves winning the second semi-final. So the results of those 2 semi-finals: Steve Norbury winners of the first one, and they automatically go through to the final. Tim and Tristan Reeves follow suit and join them. And then the next fastest 4 were Steinhausen, Pivarinta, Mannanen and Galros, all coming from that fast second semi-final.
So weather conditions here in Rijeka, heavy rain overnight has certainly left everybody with the decision as to what tyres do they run for the races here today. So a lot of last minute A lot of changing going on. But the big story is that the man second in the standings, Jörg Steinhausen, the German, is taking no further part in this particular round of the championship. There is the man on course to win the world round, but Ian is down on the grid now with his microphone to talk to some of our competitors.
Pekka Pivarinta, winner from race 1. Can you win again?
Okay. I don't know. It's very hard track and no, it's very hard system. It's very fast. Always sidecar. I don't know. Me try.
Okay. Good luck, Pekka.
Yeah, thank you very much.
3, Billy Garros, second row of the grid. There's only 4 in this. It's a max race. Ian's rushed back up to join me here. So here we go. It's wet, sticky, and a little damp out there, mate.
Yeah, conditions very wet to start with. Only 3 laps. I think everybody on wet tyres, maybe intermediate on the rear. But yeah, Steinhausen taking no further part in the racing today, and that's a big shame. But it does leave the door open for Tim and Tristan Reeves to potentially sew up the championship if they can win a couple of races. But as we saw, they've got a 5-second penalty for this 3-lap race. So, well, not making life easy for them.
Of course, this is all relative to the weight conditions. They get a penalty weight condition to put onto the machine, and we're up to about 30 kilograms?
Yeah, after winning the last 3 events, Tim was due to carry 30 kilos of extra weight on the machine, but there were some discussions about whether the chassis could handle that extra weight safely, and in the end it was decided 20 kilos would be the maximum. But because of that, Tim would also carry a time penalty in all of these races. So he's really got to get the hammer down and try and break clear of the rest of these riders.
Well, that looks like Steve Norbury at the back of the group in this. And Tim's going up the inside already, so he's got that 5-second penalty, as you say. So he's got to get at least 5 seconds in front of the next man through if he wants to win this particular match race. And Steve Norbury, the 36 machine at the back there. You can see the spray coming up off the tyres. We did have a lot of rain overnight.
Yeah, thankfully the rain stopped, but it's still on the circuit, as you can see. Very grippy circuit, even in the wet though, around here at Rijeka. The surface is quite old and a little bit porous perhaps, and a lot of these corners you can brake as late in the wet as you can in the dry, as Steve Norbury was telling me. But Tim and Tristan Reeves trying to get that 5-second lead on this field. Only 3 laps, remember, this match race final, so very difficult for them to try and do that, I think.
I think there's one thing to be remembered, at least we've got a race this year, because last year, remember, we had hurricane winds and the whole thing was called off, so at least we've got a chance to see the outfits going around the circuit this time.
Yeah, and Tero Mannanen and Pekka Koismanen there in 3rd position, chasing down his great rival, fellow countryman Pekka Pivarinta. But at the front, Tim and Tristan Reeves, you can see how gingerly they're going through this left-hand hairpin. Tim not getting fully out of the sidecar. They've got to keep some weight over that back wheel to aid the traction. He's slipping and sliding around everybody. You can see Mannanen fully on it there. But Tim and Tristan Reeves come through to start the final lap of this 3-lap sprint. Well, at the moment, that gap is nowhere near 5 seconds, is it?
No, the 2 Finns are chasing him down. We've got a fight with the Finns at the moment. 2nd and 3rd. Reeves has got to pull away 5 seconds plus to be considered the winner of this match race. But I have to say that with the amount of points that he has and Steinhaus not being here, I think he's got this championship pretty well tied up, unless he has a bit of a disaster.
Well, don't forget we've got a sprint race and a main race to come as well from this event, so it's not over till the fat lady sings, as they say. But at the moment he's got about a 1.5 second lead over Pivarinta. I'm not sure how far behind Steve Norbury is, because he's hanging on well to this group as well. So will Tim and Tristan be able to get 5 seconds in this last half a lap? I doubt it. So where are they going to end up? At the checkered flag.
Probably, I would have thought 3rd, maybe even 4th. I'm not sure. I'm trying to calculate this in my head. Where is Norbury? There he is at the back of the group. Steve Norbury, a regular competitor in the Isle of Man TT on a Formula 2 outfit, but Formula 1 is what we're here today. Here they go. Looks like Well, it looks like Piverenta just snatched the win there.
Well, Piverenta was close. I think it was Reeves that got the verdict, but yeah, getting caught out on the run to the line there. I don't know whether Tim's tyres went off. In fact, Reeves down in 5th position from that match race final. A second win for Pekka Piverenta and Peter Wall.
So that's the positions of the results of the match race. Piverenta and Wall there on top. Nice to see them there.
Well, with that penalty for Tim and Tristan Reeves, dropping them down to 5th position, that's nearly an all-Scandinavian podium. I'm sure that's probably the first time it's happened. Only Johnny Briggs there, Billy Galross's passenger, blotting the copybook for the Scandinavians. So the standings after that, of course, Steinhausen getting 10 points for qualifying for the final, despite not being here.
Welcome back. It's damp and it's cold, as you can see. Not the sort of attire I think to be wearing in conditions like this here, but it's a bit of tyre changing going on.
Yeah, there's the rain's coming down on the grid and people changing. As you can see there, Tim and Tristan Reeves put in a intermediate front tyre on that Team Roberts LCR Suzuki. So they've gone out and done the sighting lap. There's Jane Fleury. She's been helping Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs get back to this event and also helping Pekka Piverenta there. Great to see Jane back and involved.
One of our young Brolly girls.
Yeah, she looks a bit cold, doesn't she?
She does look a bit cold.
Well, final preparations done then for Tim and Tristan Reeves, Billy Galross and Johnny Briggs' machine. John Baker there just taping up the radiator to make the engine run at the right temperature. But as you can see, the low cloud, the drizzle just on the track. And we're ready for this second sprint race of the weekend. Another 10 laps.
Here we go then. Lights change and they're away. Who's got the start? Reeves, he's slow off the line. And well, they're all stringing out just a little bit here. But was that Piverenta that got the start?
Yeah, it looked like it. Difficult to get these machines off the line in tricky conditions. So probably a lot of wheel spin. Sitting on the line, pushing and shoving through that first corner, but it was Piverenta and Peter Wall that got the jump. And let's remember, reminding us there, Tim and Tristan Reeves, 10-second penalty they're carrying in this 10-lap race. So, well, he didn't manage to eke out 5 seconds in the 3 laps. Can he do 10 in 10 laps?
Well, does it really matter? I mean, he leads the championship, 214 points. The man closest to him isn't racing here today, so I know he has to sort of keep his eye on the guys back 3rd, 4th and 5th, but basically Tim just needs to keep his head in gear and do everything he needs to do, and I think he could well be crowned a champion at the end of the day, with 2 rounds, of course, left to go of the championship. Assen and, of course, Sachsenring for the last round on the 18th of September.
Well, it is Tim and Tristan Reeves have hit the front. They've got to be very careful in these conditions, trying to get that 10-second penalty back, as you say. Maybe they don't have to do it. And that would be a wise move in conditions like this. Pekka Piverenta and Peter Wall keeping them in sight. Further down the order, there's Andy Laidlaw and Patrick Farrance. And we've got Gary and Dan Knight heading that great scrap there for about 8th position.
Looks like they're all queuing up to come around the corner.
Yeah, lots of different tyre setups I saw on the grid, slicks and intermediates, and a couple of people even having wets on the back just in case it started to rain again. But Van Gil's trying down the outside there, nearly on the grass. And now is he going to try up the inside of Gary and Dan Knight? His left is braking very late. No, didn't quite make it. I'm sure they touched there.
There's not much room around that corner when they're about 10 abreast. So the 1st and 2nd are beginning to pull away. This is the battle now on for 3rd place.
Yeah, Taro Mannanen there and Pekka Koismanen heading Billy Galross and Johnny Briggs, with Andy Laidlaw and Patrick Farrance there in 6th position.
Andy, of course, looking to try and pick another podium up. He's a professional sidecar racer now, and I don't quite know what he's going to do with himself during the winter months after the last round at Sachsenring. Probably take a short holiday.
Yeah, recover from the season that's just gone by, I think. As will we as well, Kenny, yeah?
Yeah, living out of his motorhome with his family. So I'm not quite sure what plans he has for the winter. I mean, presumably he's going to go somewhere.
Oh, knowing Andy, he'll probably try and find a winter race series to do or something. He just loves this outfit. I don't think he gets off of it at night time.
heads to Spain would be a good idea, and park it up and have a few months off and lie in the sun and recuperate.
Definitely. But Tim and Tristan Reeves, well, they've got about a 2-second lead on Pekka Pivarinta. Pivarinta just must love this Rijeka track. He's been in Reeves's wheel tracks all weekend, nearly pipped him in that match race final as well on the road. But Tim and Tristan Reeves, leaders on the road. 10-second gap means they're down in 6th position at the moment. Oh, Pivarinta just getting squirrely on the brakes going through there. He doesn't want to do anything silly. That's Sepp Doppler and Bernard Wagner on the Gemini racing machine. Well, they're down with John and Gregory Clues and slipping and sliding around again.
I'm not sure whether he was signalling someone to go past or whether he was just losing control. This guy's in control. Out front, Tim Reeves. His younger brother Tristan there in the chair doing all the work. And on course, if they keep it together and keep it on the tarmac, to become world champions with 2 rounds left to go. And what that's only, we've had Darren Dixon was a world champion. Of course, Steve Webster's been many times a world champion. So this is a new world champion for Great Britain, really, isn't it?
Yeah, if we go back through the British World Champions, there's been loads over the years since 1949.
Though let's not forget the guy that isn't here racing, of course, our old pal Steve Abbott.
Yeah, Abbott, of course, down in Australia doing the Australian Series this year. Would be good to see him back in the championship, but taking nothing away from Tim and Tristan Reeves. They've put on a fine display this year, and they're still trying to get that 10-second gap. Well, I'd say that was 10 seconds ahead of 3rd position now. So I put Tim and Tristan Reeves in 2nd place in this race. The leader is actually number 5, although Tim and Tristan lead it on the road. Number 5, Pekka Pivarinta and Peter Wall are leading it on time.
Heading for possibly their 3rd appearance on that top step of the podium here in Rijeka.
Yeah, and there's one man that would like to emulate Pivarinta and win a race. Hasn't done so far, but Pivarinta really on fire this weekend. 2 race wins. Finland, well, they haven't had race wins for 35 years, I think it is, going back through the history books. And Pivarinta's taken 2 already this weekend.
Well, maybe that'll get some of our coverage onto Finnish TV.
Yeah, Scandinavians great with their motorsport. And these 2 Scandinavians, Mannanen and Pivarinta, are certainly providing us with some entertainment this year.
Steve Norbury, 36, the Brits. Not going too bad, is he?
No, first time here at Rijeka, and he qualified a little bit down the order, but he's really got quicker and quicker as the event's gone on. Tim and Tristan Reeves now coming across the line, trying to work out that gap. I think 6 I counted there, so I think only 6 seconds ahead of Pekka Pivarinta and Peter Wall at the moment. But you can see the track beginning to dry out. There's a dry line around on the racing line, still damp offline.
I think the question now is who made the right choice when it came to tyres.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, slicks would be the ideal choice at the moment, but that wouldn't have helped you in the early part of the race. So intermediates would be the call. So on the timesheets, this is our race leader, number 5, Pekka Pivarinta and Peter Wall. Ahead of him on the road, number 77, Tim and Tristan Reeves. It's all a question of what that time gap is when these 2 cross the finish line at the end of these 10 laps.
Well, Finland stamping its authority all over this race, all over this championship round at the moment. Of course, the big question will be asked is who's going to do what in the last and the biggest race of the day, the cup race.
Yeah, and Pivarinta and Wall, you can see it drying out. They're beginning to slide that machine around as that intermediate tyre on the rear gets heated up. Tim and Tristan Reeves coming across the line to start their final lap.
And that's a big gap. That's a big gap between them and 2nd place at the moment. Didn't even see the 2nd place pairing, Pivarinta, in our shot as they came over the finish line. So, it's 6.1 seconds then, so...
Well, Tim's got 1 lap to try and get 3.9 seconds, isn't he? 4 seconds he needs to find on this lap. I don't think he's going to be able to do it, but if there's one man that's going to try...
It'll be Tim. One way or another, he'll have a good go at it. He's obviously received his pit board information. He's now coming up on some slower riders, which is not going to help his progress and not going to help his chances of getting that 4 seconds back, but that outfit's starting to squirrel around a little bit as he goes hard on the brakes into the right-hander.
Well, that's Thomas Fuchs and Yuri Perchalek just holding Tim and Tristan up fractionally, but not too bad. He's now got the run up on the back half of the circuit to get past the rest of the back markers. He's got to keep it nailed flat out, 160 miles an hour even in these conditions, braking into this last left-hand turn before coming back onto the start and finish straight. You can see almost dry now. The sun's out, drying the circuit very quickly. This is the final corner coming up. I don't think Tim and Tristan Reeves have got enough of a lead to win this race, but it looks like they're going to end up in second position. Where is second place? The white machine coming across the line now. That's about 7 seconds.
No, it's not enough. Yeah.
Results confirmed. Paverinter and Wall taking the win. Tim and Tristan Reeves did do enough to get into second place, with Tero Manninen and Pekka Koismanen in third. Well, there, Paverinter on the right, Peter Wall on the left. Third win out of the last 3 races for the Finns. What a great weekend they're having.
I think they're collecting garlands.
Try and get those back across the border.
Yeah, right. Look at those weather conditions. It isn't good, but fingers crossed it'll improve as the day goes on.
Tero Manninen and Pekka Koismanen, third position. Hard race?
Yeah, it wasn't hard, but good race.
And Pekka, of course, the last time in Austria you fell from the sidecar at 260 kilometers. Do you still have any injuries?
Yeah, I still have in my legs and hands. They are painful here in the paddock, but when I race I don't feel them.
Tim and Tristan, bit controversial winners on the road there, but with the 10-second penalty just in second place behind the Finns. How was the race from your view? You must have just had to go as fast as possible.
That's all we could do really to have any chance of winning was just go hard from the word go. The first 3 or 4 laps were a bit airy because obviously it was still damp, but once after 3 or 4 laps there was a dry line, so it was all right. But yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to do it in the big race. We'll have to. I think we've got a 7-second lead then, but we need 15 in the big race. So hopefully we'll try our best.
Pekka Piverinter and Peter Wall, 35 years since a Finnish victory in sidecars, now 3 in a row. You must be very happy with that result.
Yes, me very happy.
And Peter, with the 10 seconds from Reeves, did you know that you were still within distance to win the race?
No, I don't think so that this time.
So it was a surprise when you were told you win?
Big surprise.
So let's have a look at the situation. Tim and Tristan Reeves there with 234 points from Jörg Steinhausen and Trevor Hopkins on 181. Championships up for grabs. Steve Norbury leads them down onto the line, the young Brit, hoping for a good result here. Piverinter 3 times on the podium, on the top step of the podium. Dan Morris has been having a lot of electrical problems this weekend. I'm sure that's been caused by some of the wet weather we've had. Let's have a look at, that's the view that the passenger has. Ian is now down on the grid, making a nuisance of himself with that microphone.
Steve, last race of the day, the long race. You've been getting quicker all weekend. How do you think you can do?
I think I'm going to try and pace myself out in this one. The last race, the 10-lap race, I was feeling quite strong towards the end of the 10 laps. So if get mid-race distance, if I'm feeling like that again, I'll start pushing, see what position we're in, and just keep going, I think.
Well, there is the new Mrs. Tristan Reeves. Got married just before the weekend, leading up to the event here at Rijeka. So Mr. and Mrs. Reeves, that's Tristan's new wife. Tim on the left there. Crowd waiting. Well, you see the sun has now come out. The rain has gone. We're hoping for a nice dry race, and they're under starters' orders. 23 laps. The gold race gets underway. We could have a new World Championship pairing at the end of this race. And Reevesy gets very slowly off the line.
Yeah, that was a poor start from Tim and Tristan, wasn't it? We're on board with Tim and Tristan. They're just getting mobbed by everybody going into that first corner. Adolf Harney and Mike Rocher, they're getting a flyer of a start from further back down the grid. But Tim and Tristan not wasting any time trying to barge their way through. Oh, it's just got to be so careful on this opening lap as well. And that's Tom Hanks.
That's wobbling all over the place.
Well, I don't know if that's nerves. There's Mike Ross and Adolf Harney getting back ahead of Tim and Tristan Reeves. Yeah, I don't know if it's nerves on this opening lap, because if Tim and Tristan Reeves can win this race, and remember they've got a 15-second penalty to contend with as well, but if they can win this race, that puts them out of reach in the championship table from their nearest rivals. So, if they win the race, they're world champions.
Nerves are going to be jangling then at the moment on that outfit as they claw their way through, going past Mike Roche now to move up a position. I think they did what they call the Steve Webster start there, you know.
Yeah, I think so. Webber also hopefully coming back for the next race, the outgoing world champion, because of course we will have a new world champion this year, whether it's Tim Reeves at this race or something. There he goes past Gary and Dan Knight. That was tight, just forced his way up the inside. Well, Tim's taking no prisoners now, is he?
No, I just suddenly saw the odd bit of moisture hitting onto our onboard camera lens, so I'm hoping we don't get any rain during the course of this race, because I think they're all out there on slicks.
Yeah, that'll liven things up a bit, won't it? This is on board from Billy Galros going past Gary and Dan Knight to move up a position. Just listen to that 1000cc Suzuki. Now we're on with Gary and Dan Knight behind Billy Galros and Johnny Briggs. Well, that's a scrap for 6th position at the moment. Great shots. You just see how physical it is round this circuit for both the driver and the passenger. This is the hairpin, third of the way round the lap. Galros just inching away from Gary and Dan Knight there. Pekka Pivarinta and Peter Wall lead the pack.
So Reevesy, I think, back in 4th at the moment. There is Steve Norbury just going through.
Martin and Tony Van Gils, they've not had a good weekend here in Croatia. I bet they wish they'd stayed at home in Holland.
It's all over the place.
Well, that's a difficult corner back on with Reeves. He's behind Mannanen, so that was 3rd position. Is he going to get the pass?
Yeah, we still definitely see some moisture coming up on that longboard camera lens.
Yeah, it's in the air. Yes, Tim and Tristan up to 2nd position now. Yeah. Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs, they're in 4th position. Well, yes. Tom did say earlier on, didn't he, by the end of the weekend he wanted to be somewhere near the front running pace, and he's been getting quicker and quicker all weekend. Tom Hanks, Phil Biggs, been out of action all week, sliding that thing around.
It's good to see him back as well after missing most of the season.
Yeah, it's difficult to jump back in halfway through the year or 2/3 of the way through the season. But with the 4 races this weekend, Tom's had a lot of track time. Adolf Harney, of course, providing him with a superb machine to come back with. And, well, let's hope the next time out at Assen, Tom will be up racing for the lead.
How will Adolf feel about the fact that Tom is in front of him on one of his outfits?
I think Adolf will just be happy that one of the team members is up the front.
Hopefully it would be him, but he's spent the last few events falling out the sidecar, hasn't he?
Right, Tim and Tristan Reeves streaking away at the front now as we get through this race. Remember, and that's Pekka Pivarinta.
Where's he going?
Well, we've lost Pivarinta out of the picture.
He's gone.
See if we can see what happens. He's in 3rd place there. Oh, he just gets it on the rumble strips.
Struth.
Well, we didn't follow it with our camera, but that looked like a big off for Pekka Pivarinta, winner of all 3 events so far this weekend. They're not going to make it 4 now.
No, it's kind of win or crash thinking that is, and he's definitely going to. I think he's crashed out. And you say we didn't get the camera to follow that, so he was, I think, just around the right-hand side of the corner, so he may not have seen the end result.
Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs up to 2nd position now. They're chasing after Tim and Tristan Reeves. But it has to be said, Pivarinta has been the only guy that could really stay with Tim and Tristan Reeves this weekend. Now that he's out of the race, and we hope they're okay, well, maybe Tim and Tris can get that 15-second lead. Here we are with Billy Galros fighting with Andy Laidlow and Patrick Farrance.
I keep looking to the right where they went off just there, but I don't see anything. Oh, we're on board again here with Billy Galros. Looking back at Johnny Briggs, his passenger working. As I say, in the office. Listen to that engine. Oh, winding that machine up fully. Passenger gets back out again to keep the sidecar wheel down. There is somebody behind those 2. In fact, I think there's a couple of outfits behind them.
Well, there's one, they've just gone past the back marker. Johnny Briggs just giving them the thumbs up for keeping out of the way. Andy Laidlow having a look up the inside there. Well, this is a great scrap. They've been scrapping all weekend, and Well, this is good to see. Galros really, since Salzburgering, has been back on top form and going well in this race.
So Laidlow sits behind, waiting for an opportunity to make the pass. Hopefully we'll see that from our onboard camera. We're not sure, but we'll hang on. We're back at the front once again. It's the final lap, and Tim and Tristan Reeves.
Well, we got a timing on that final lap. 14.1 seconds was the lead. But it's starting to rain as we go into the closing stages. The rain's getting heavier. Tim and Tristan don't look like they're backing off, do they? They're keeping that thing nailed through there. Up on the curbs as well, and this is really tricky. 14.1 seconds was the lead at the end of the previous lap. Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs, they're in second position. Well, they look to be taking it a little bit steadier now the rain's come down, don't they? So, is this going to play into Tim Reeves' hands?
Here they come over the checkered flag. They've won it. I think they're pretty sure they've won it.
Well, yeah, the gap confirmed. It was over 15 seconds, 19 seconds at the end. Tim and Tristan Reeves the winner from Tom Hanks and Phil Biggs. Mannon and Koismanen in third position.
Yep. Well, that's fireworks or rain I can hear coming down on the camera jacket.
Well, look at the rain falling there, but that's Tim and Tristan Reeves. They've won the race, come from a 15-second penalty, and won the World Championship in doing so. What a great result for them.
And look at that phenomenal picture behind them.
Well, the obligatory soaking in champagne.
Don't need it here, the rain's coming down hard enough to achieve that.
Tom, Adolf Hanny obviously getting you out of the problems of no sponsorship, so this is a good way to repay him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, without Adolf, it wouldn't be possible. But we just made up with today. This was the result we needed, because going to Assen next, we needed confidence. We weren't very confident throughout, the practice and the qualifying, but we clicked in that race and it started to come together really good. So, but yeah, thanks to Adolf, it's great.
Tristan, Tim, culmination of a difficult season, but you've wrapped up the World Championship. Tim, how long have you been wanting this?
For as long as I can remember going racing with my dad, since I was born, really. We've been brought up with it through our parents and racing for all our lives, and it's something we've always wanted to do. To be world champions means everything we've ever wanted to do. It's great.
And Tristan, you got married last weekend, and this weekend you sign up the championship. What can you do next weekend?
Get drunk, I think. I think that's better than his wedding. I can't say my wife standing over there, but no, I just thank Dave and everyone who's helped us this year. And there's your birthday present, Dave, wherever he is. It's his birthday Friday, so there you go. Brilliant.
And Tris, what is the feeling inside at the moment?
Oh, I don't know really. I can't explain it. I want to get back down there and get a beer. I don't know, I ain't sunk in properly yet. I shed a tear on just lying down that, because the weekend it's been a bit of a rough, strange weekend, but with stuff happening, it would have been bitter if certain people are here and that. But we've still done it, so that's the main thing really.
And Tim, just a word about the race there. You had to make up 15 seconds. Did you think it was possible?
When I got the bad start, then I didn't, to be honest, and I just didn't give in. I just tried and tried and tried, and my last lap was as hard as my first lap. Just had to keep trying, and it paid off. So,
Tim and Tristan, congratulations on winning your first ever World Championship. We'll let you go away and celebrate now.
Cheers, thank you.
So let's have a look at the standings then. Tim and Tristan Reeves win the World Championship, 259 points with 2 rounds left to go. York Steinhausen didn't race here today, didn't score any points except for earlier on, so he's lost any chance of giving Reeves a run for his money. Peverinter moves up to 4th. Well, that's it from here in Rijeka. Next round is in Assen. We'll see you there for more sidecar action.
Enjoy that one.